Hello, everyone, and welcome to the STLTechTalk Podcast. My name is JJ Hammond, and we have another great show for you tonight. Are you ready for the top tech news stories of the week, applications that you should try out on your favorite gadgets, fun and lively commentary, and, of course, our very special guest interview, which is our, bar none, one of the most qualified people I've ever talked to in my entire life. Tonight's guest worked on Office for the iPad. And that is going to be so much fun. It's just going to be so much fun. She is the principal group manager, Excel and graphics, visualization for Office for iPad, shared services, display ads, BI and analytics lead, Bing ads, Microsoft director of business development, server and tools division, worked for Microsoft various engineering roles, engineering manager, QA manager, online services division, Intel Corporation hardware engineer, Intel Corporation, Agile project manager, product management, business intelligence, quality assurance, cloud computing, software engineering with the Agile methodologies, test management, program management, Scrum, product planning, C#, software development, mobile devices testing, distributed systems, education, and has an education from the University of Baroda, Bachelor's of Science, Electrical Engineering from the USC, and I understand that that's Southern California, I get that. Electrical Engineering, the amazing, the wonderful Sangeeta Mudnal. Say hello.
Hello, folks.
Hello, and thank you so much again for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I said it before the show, and I really mean it. Thank you so much for being on. It means a lot to us. But this show is not possible without, it's a PC. No, wait, it's a Mac. No, wait, it's Alejandro Ramirez. Say hello, Alejandro.
Hey, guys. Great to be here tonight. It's really a special night. I think we're all really excited to have Sangeeta here with us tonight. It really brings good memories from my old job at Microsoft, so really excited to have you here tonight. Can't wait to get started.
Let's do it. And, of course, we have Kevin Harvell waiting in the wings to come up and join us towards the end of the show, at the end of the interview, rather, not the end of the show, but the end of the interview. He is my partner in crime and fellow tech enthusiast, the editor-in-chief of STLTechTalk.com, producer of Codecast by STLTechTalk, and co-creator of STLTechChic.com, the uncanny Kevin Harvell. And don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at STLTechTalk, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Windows Phone, TuneIn Radio, or listen directly from the site. Visit STLTechTalk.com to keep up with our tech news, podcast, Codecast, find out how you can advertise with us, find out how you can hire us and consult with your technological needs. And don't forget, you can interact with the show by sending us feedback to podcast@STLTechTalk.com. And if you're watching us live, you can ask us questions via the chat room, and we'll do our best to answer those questions in a timely manner. Special thank yous go out tonight from me to Sean Johnson. He's the Win Fan on Twitter. I suggest everybody follow that dude, also on Facebook. He is a fellow Windows Phone fan who gave me a shout-out, so right back at you, buddy. Unidev, Greg, and Angela Laraca. She's a phenomenal person. Also, Greg Alexander, the CEO of Unidev, was just incredibly wonderful. And I wrote a piece about them and their company. It's on our site, so go check that out, please, at STLTechTalk.com website. Also, thank you, Brad Urani, Roderick, Tech Guy Smart Buy, and Jenny C. at Jenny Impact. And also to Jason and Cara from Nebula. We met with them this evening, and I cannot wait to start on all the wonderful things tech-related here in St. Louis in the startup scene, coding, product management, all that stuff. Awesome stuff coming down the pike. So thank you guys for supporting the show in one way or another and just being overall awesome people. Again, thank you so much, Sangeeta, for being on the show. We're going to go ahead and get it kicked off with the first question from Alejandro. Go ahead and take the reins, sir.
All right. So I think for those of you guys who are watching, and you probably, if you didn't know, but Microsoft has a Macintosh group of developers. As you probably found out, there's a couple of products out. I'm sure the reason why you're here tonight is because you heard about Office for iPad. But this is one of the questions that trickles many people. What is it like to be a Mac person at Microsoft? Can you tell us about the life of the people who make these wonderful products? What is it like to be involved with everybody else's Microsoft, Windows, etc., and you guys are on the Mac?
So first of all, thank you for the kind introduction, JJ and Alejandro. I'm really, really excited to be here and sharing some of my experiences and stories at Microsoft. Just general introduction-wise, I have been at Microsoft for 15 years, and I worked at many divisions. So it's either like Windows or MSN Messenger, Bing Ads. You heard a lot of that from JJ. So like various divisions, various teams, and my most recent team is this Mac BU, but Mac Business Unit, but now it's called the Apex team, which is Apple Productivity Experiences team at Microsoft. So I'm a principal group program manager at this team, and specifically I own working on the Excel app and also the graphics and visualization. So I'm sure you guys have used charts and shapes and smart art and images and objects in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And so that's kind of what me and my team, we focus on. In terms of the Apple Productivity Experiences team, we work on all Apple platforms. So that includes iOS, which is like Mac, the iPhone and the iPad, as well as the Mac platform. Yes, I think it's a very, very interesting team at Microsoft. And since I worked in various teams, when I came to this team, it was a very different experience in terms of the actual, the code environment that we have, and also the hardware that we have. So walking around in Microsoft with iPads and Macs was a very different experience compared to the last 12, 13 years where I used to always carry a Windows laptop and all of that. But overall, I feel the company strategy to go cross-platform on various of product and services has now been fully embraced. And so that's really great to see. And so we are actually, as one of the product teams in Microsoft, enabling other teams to ship cross-platform experiences. And since we have done it for so long, we have a lot of best practices to share in terms of engineering, in terms of the process, in terms of the actual, platform optimizations that you can do. So we feel like really being, in the central part of Microsoft, helping drive the cross-platform strategy. So it's been a great ride so far, and especially with our Office for iPad launch in late March. We've been really been in the limelight, and thanks to our customers and folks like you who have embraced the product and the app, and we've and that's all where we are.
Yeah.
I could listen to you talk for hours. But what's really neat though is that it helps people sometimes to connect better with because sometimes when it's that 2 o'clock for that mind-numbingly crazy Excel thing that's going on, and we've all been there, to be able to say, you know what, I'm listening to saying, and I'm somewhere, there's serenity now happening, and I can pull through this. This is very, very nice stuff.
Awesome.
Yes. So it's very neat to hear it from somebody who actually works on it. Because it's one thing to use it, but it's another thing, and just to kind of blanketly say, oh, this is something without a face. But there are people behind the program, and there are a lot of thought goes into it. And best practices is something that I don't think is talked about enough, because it's not a very attractive, nor is it a very appealing catch-worthy subject, but it totally needs to be talked about more in the productivity stages and in the user experience side of things. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a little known fact that is, though, shared in the industry, but the former Mac BU, now called Apex, is considered the largest Apple technology development group outside of Apple in the world. So that is a huge compliment, and also tells you a lot about why these best practices carry around, and why the products that come out of this team are so great. So Thank you for introducing yourself. That was going to be my next question. I think I should have asked you that first. So, bad manners, Alejandro, bad manners. But
I love your whiteboards and the pictures of your kids. That's awesome.
yeah, absolutely. We can see lots of trophies too. So I'm sure that there's some wrestling done with the Windows guys or something like that.
No, I know.
I play cricket. That's cricket and soccer. So that's those are the
nice.
from that.
Nice.
Surprised you guys can see it that far back. Yeah.
Gorgeous.
The question I've really been itching to ask is in this light of secrets leaking everywhere, this was, I think, by far Microsoft's best kept secret. I think everybody was talking about a version for the iPad, a version for iOS, when I think since like Office 2008 was out, and it was the first jump to true Cocoa out of the older technology. And so how hard was it to keep this secret? Did you guys do beta testing? Did anything ever leak out to the news? I cannot even start to think about it.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty tough challenge to keep the project in secrecy for a very long time, and there was a lot of things. Most of it which I can't share, but a lot of things from our code and our infrastructure perspective, we had to do special stuff so that this project doesn't get leaked. But the toughest challenge was we wanted enough people because we couldn't beta test it. We had more of an internal Microsoft employee dog food program. And so that was the toughest challenge, is to how do you give access in a confined way on the the iPads. Either it's a bring your own device or it's a company's iPad. So we had a lot of challenges that way, and the toughest was like, how do we get enough coverage before shipping the product? And so that's kind of where we had a lot of trade-offs to make, and we did eventually open it up to internal dog food as much as possible, and we made a lot of kind of special casing for the code and all of that fun stuff that you might not be interested, but now that it's kind of out there, it's great because now we can actually talk to customers, beta test it. So we have a lot of engagements going on with students in universities, with enterprises, with just productivity folks, and so we are getting a lot of good feedback. So that makes me a little bit very, very excited. It's like this is what we did, just knowing what we know of what mobile scenarios what we want to enable, and now we are hearing from customers, and so what we were trying to envision in our next set of feature set and our next roadmap, it's just an exciting year ahead of, or a couple of years ahead of us.
Yeah, that's remarkable that there was no beta testing, because like you said, customer feedback is definitely important, and I think based on the reviews that we've seen in the industry, the reception was just great. I think a lot of development shops tried to fulfill the void, but when it came out, everybody was like, thank you, we've been waiting for it, and they embraced it immediately. JJ, you were going to say.
Yeah.
No. I just on the heels of that, you probably can't say this, but I'm just going to kind of say it. There had to have been a lot of people with multiple devices. Like there had to be just a small group of people with a whole bunch of test devices to say, go out into the wild and go screw as much, go mess up as many things as you can, so that we can figure out how to fix it. And from a quality perspective, that had to be, I mean, we always talk about, and in this industry, Apple does it very well with connecting the left and right brain people together. You have to do a lot of that creative, critical thinking about, okay, what is this going to be like outside of what we're doing here, like in our designs and stuff. So it's just really cool to hear that so much went into that. And I would wonder just how much time and energy actually went into preventing it from getting out, and how much of those resources could have been used to maybe make it a better product. I mean, it's kind of crazy how anti that software companies have to be, almost, in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And now that's why it's liberating. It's like we can talk about it, and we can, we don't have to do any, if defs in our code and all of that fun stuff. So.
You're up, Alejandro.
Yeah, and dog fooding, for those of you who don't know, it's really a term coined by Microsoft, or at least if you guys didn't invent it, I think that's where people mostly relate that term to. And I don't know if you can tell, for those who haven't heard the term dog fooding, what the meaning of that is.
I think you can do a better job at that. Why don't you go ahead? Because let's take I'll throw it back to you.
All right. Well, as a former tester, let me not put you on the spot. So for those of you who haven't heard, so dog fooding is basically when developers have to test their own code. So basically, the development team has to try their code they're building, and that means on a daily basis. When you reach that dog fooding stage, it's basically everybody has to use this product. And in agile organizations, not only Microsoft, I'm sure you guys do things like this. That it is very common to assign tasks to people and ask them to fulfill those tasks. There's no instructions. It's pretty much an open creative book of, hey, go create a wedding album in PowerPoint, or go and do something in Word, or things like that. And that's pretty common in agile, so that people go through that ad hoc testing. And so.
Yeah, and that's what I think. As JJ was saying, we do have a huge lab here with many devices. We did a Reddit AMA like just a couple of weeks after our launch, and in that we had taken a few pictures of our lab. Maybe I can share it later with you guys. But it's a fascinating lab with all of the various iPad form factors and iPhone and Mac, and we do a lot of testing, which is very formal testing. And then, as you mentioned, the dog food part, which is we expect everybody working on the product to install the product daily and use it as if it was their main productivity device. So that was kind of one of the main bars we had, is how you can do all of your work that you're used to doing on desktop to do it on your iPad. And that helped really build up a lot of good use cases that people ran through, and we found a lot of bugs. And that's kind of a typical dog food environment at Microsoft.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have two more questions, JJ. How are we on time? Are we still okay, Sangeeta, with you as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to ask you about your favorite features. There's been, like I said, competition that has come up, and so as Office for iPad went out, I'm sure you guys were also paying attention to who was out there. So Google has apps, Apple has their what is it called, the Pages app on the iPad as well. So what are your favorite features that you think that differentiate Office for iPad?
So a couple of things. So we did definitely look at what the competition like Google has in terms of its productivity software. And so here's my two takeaways on that. So first, a lot of people have used the web experience of Google Docs, and so if you use that on iPad, and it doesn't really feel natural. That's my takeaway. It's like a web-based experience for productivity. So like being an Excel GPM, like just basic scenarios like selecting cells or sorting, or if you want to format, it just is so inefficient and just doesn't work. We also looked at the native app offerings that they have, like Google Docs and Google Sheets, and it has a little bit more touch optimized kind of experiences available, but it is pretty basic. And one of the things that we have heard from customers who have used the Google offerings is once they open up Office documents, the content fidelity is lost and is not as as what they have when they created it, and so the formatting havoc is created, and it really frustrates a lot of those users. So that was one of the major things that we really wanted to nail with our Office for iPad experiences. Like whatever the users have created in terms of content fidelity, we give you the best experience, even though it's a different form factor and different type of system constraints that you have compared to your desktop environment. So I would say the number one feature just generally is the content fidelity that we provide in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So your docs look exactly the same, the way, if you worked really hard to create the best PowerPoint to communicate a certain point that you want, or you have built really great spreadsheets and charts and visualization to close a deal. All of those, just because you open an iPad, shouldn't be messed up. And so that's what we really hold near and dear to our heart. And then if I look at the other Google Doc feature set that they have, it's pretty basic. That's what we have seen from our customers. Things like you can't even insert images or shapes or something in your Word and in your docs and sheets. And if you compare that, like Office for iPad has a really depth of functionality available, and yet it is very simple to use. It has the Office familiarity, so you don't have a learning curve with that. And that's one of the things, again, as we worked on this product, was our number one principle, to have the Office familiarity, so that when people start using these apps on iPad, it just works for them. And the reason that is very important is, like, as we were re-envisioning productivity on tablets, we didn't want the apps and the software to come in the way. So if you have too much information, too many options, too many drill downs, too many taps, we would have lost the users in terms of, and we would not make them productivity. We would not make them productive. So that would go against our principles. So that's why we really strived hard to have the Office look and feel and make it really simple to use and very intuitive to use. So that, I think, is the next. It's not a specific feature, but I think one of the just general overall across the suite is it's so easy to use. You get started and you feel productive. And the number one feedback that we heard from our analysts and from our customers is they now want to do more. Like, they just don't want to stop at consumption kind of scenarios. They want to, like, if you look at the feature requests coming in, they want to do so much stuff that we had never imagined that people would ask for on a tablet.
Buy a PC.
So, and then, so those I think for me really stand out as our offerings. In terms of a favorite feature, I think, being in Excel, for me, it's like, you can see all of the great spark lines and the great rendering and the formatting, conditional formatting and all of that. That is something that I really, love in Excel. And then finally, the important thing to call out is co-authoring. So that is something that Microsoft is not, has come out with an offering for, you can do online collaboration, and now on Office for iPad you can actually do co-authoring in Word and PowerPoint. So that's a really, really powerful feature, and I think that's one of my favorite, because what do you want to do when you're reviewing your PowerPoint and getting ready for your last minute presentation? You want to make small edits, and you can talk to 2-3 people. They come into the document, edit it, and we are ready for the presentation. So
yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, jeez, they need to pay you to talk more about this. This the responses I've heard.
Maybe I should think about a career change now.
No, you're doing what you do well. No, but from that, it was just a kind of a quick little question. Do you sometimes envision like something that you wanted to put in there, but it just couldn't work within that? Because I would have found it hard, right? Because it is a productivity application, and set of applications rather, but you're so kind of constricted as to how many points that you can tap on, or you want to get it done fast, but you also want to give a variety of options. So we've seen some of the competing platforms do radial menus and different kinds of things like that. So I'm sure it was interesting to try to bridge that gap and try to make it, okay, what is going to be this particular feature that this particular set of customers are going to use the most, and then let's kind of attack it that way.
Right. Yeah. So I think, just to add to that, we have over currently 1 billion Office users worldwide, right? And also now we know there's like billions of mobile devices out there. So there's a huge opportunity, that's we realized right at the outset of this project. And yet we didn't want to just kind of port the existing Office onto iPad first, because it would be too hard for users to really use that product on that device, and second, the iPad constraints that exist. And so JJ, as you just mentioned, is like that's exactly what we did. We studied the behaviors of these billion Office users and looked at the top commands that they use, and then we also did a understanding of like what are the mobile scenarios that we want to enable, and things like hey, I want to do last minute correction, or I want to button up things, I want to co-auth with other people, or I want to take this device on my ride back to home. So those were some of the scenarios we thought people, we knew people do on their mobile devices, and we had all this data-driven stuff that's coming in from the 1 billion customers. So we kind of married those two, like looking at the scenarios, what are the top used commands, and then and that's what went into building this product. And yes, we didn't do the beta testing, but because there was enough of this telemetry data, that's what we call in Microsoft, we were able to make that decisions pretty fairly quickly.
I would have loved to have been in the control room looking at all the screens going, oh, 1,000 of people just touched that. Oh,
yes.
Yes.
And so since you're talking about this number of users, this incredible number of users, was the launch of Office for iPad global, or was that English only in the US?
No, it was a global launch, and and it was available. I forget. I think it's around 36 markets or more, or I might be off. So it was global, and we had a worldwide launch, and all the download numbers that we have are are global downloads.
Well, yeah, you guys are on the top of the Apple App Store.
Yes. Yep.
That's solid. For productivity. Go ahead, Alejandro.
No, I was just gonna say just the job of translating that, if you can imagine. I know that the desktop applications go into I don't know 12, 15 different languages. So with this part of the global launch, did you guys also have to go to the translation to offer it in multiple languages?
Yes. So we have an entire localization team which worked with us very hand in hand, and they were also very agile in terms of turning things around very quickly and getting the product ready. And yeah, that was quite a worldwide launch. And we do know we don't have support for right to left languages yet, and so. That is a top customer ask, and and it's something that is in our product roadmap, and we are actively working towards it. So, so I do want to acknowledge that we are not in the RTL, the right to left markets.
Something I wouldn't consider.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and not to put you in the spot, but I think the other best kept secret, and I think the question that everybody keeps wondering is about Office 2014 for Mac. We haven't heard anything at all, so I don't know that you can share anything, but everybody's wondering, are we going to have an Office for Mac anytime soon? We still are using the Office 2011.
Yeah. So there's obviously good news in the sense that the same team works on iOS and Mac. So it's the Apex team that we talked about earlier, and all of the features and capabilities that we have built in iPad, accrue value to the overall iOS and the Mac platform. So you all will be very happy to see when Mac Office for Mac kind of lands. I can't give you specific dates, but
that's okay.
just to let you know, we are working extremely hard to get it out there, because again, we know there's a huge customer demand built up, and so we really want to get that done pretty quickly.
Well,
yeah, I think the rumors on the. I'm sorry, JJ, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I'm sure that Apple releasing updates to their OS doesn't exactly help. You guys might be along in the process and be like, "Score, we're done. We're done." Wait, what? They're gonna what? Back to the drawing board again.
That's a couple of weeks ago. WWDC happened, and there were few announcements. I think some of it is exciting. Some of it, we're looking at and evaluating. and trying to see how much of the platform updates that you need to kind of take on, or do we stick to the original plan. So but yeah, that's always interesting twist to the plans that come up when there's a platform update that's happening.
It goes to what you were saying earlier. It's never boring. You're not going to run out of okay, what's going to happen today? What's going to explode on us today? Go ahead, Alejandro.
Yeah. I was just going to say along the same lines that I think that people definitely saw less scary changes from iOS 7 to iOS 8 as compared to last year from iOS 6 to 7, especially with the flat design of iOS. I think from 7 to 8, it is not as huge of a problem. I think that the rumors of larger devices, primarily for the iPhone, I don't think the iPad has any major reholds. There's talks about a second iPad Air, faster, smoother, better, but there will always be changes, and people.
Yeah, I think when we looked at some of the iOS 8 capabilities, we are pretty excited about that. The continuative kind of scenarios, and then being able to, they're starting to build extensibility into the platform. That's very exciting news. Adaptive UI, so then you don't worry about the size of the device anymore. You just build UI once. So some of those announcements are pretty exciting and headed in the right direction, and a lot of it we're hoping to leverage with Office for iPad and moving forward. And one of the things that we definitely want to do is this is an app world nowadays, and so updates to the apps can be done very quickly, and that's kind of our one of the principles is we learn from the telemetry data, the data-driven decisions that we make, and we move on it pretty quickly, and we ship pretty quickly. So print was one of the most requested features, and within a month we were able to ship it, and so we have a huge backlog from our customers and analysts and our enterprise customers, and we're just working at it as fast as we can, and you'll be very amazed of how fast we'll be shipping in the coming months.
I also think, I forgot to mention, but I also think you guys came at a good time because cloud computing or cloud storage, namely OneDrive and whatnot, have actually gone from the services were there before, but now I think people are more accepting of storing in the cloud. I think in the past there was some hesitation, and now it's just a commodity that is expected. So when Office for iPad came out, I think people were already used to storing their files, their documents on the cloud. So
that's a great point, Alejandro. So just to add a little bit to that, OneDrive, as you know, it used to offer 7 gigabytes, and now it's 15 gigabytes. And if you're an Office 365 user, you had 20 gigabytes, and now we have 1 terabyte.
Oh yeah.
Right? So basically, what the strategy there is, we as Microsoft and then Office is to really, with these changes, really have these things around amount of storage or pricing. Let's move it out of the decision table, right? Let's focus on, we have met that, let's focus on the capabilities, what can be done with the software and the apps, and that's something that is great for customers to okay, now the pricing and amount of storage is all taken care of. Now I need to focus on the functionality. And then that's something that applies to Office for iPad too. I know it's subscription based for editing and it's free for read-only view, but that's something that we are really tracking pretty closely in terms of our pricing strategy and ensuring that we provide the right value to the customers and the great experience, and then we be very competitive in that space, especially given where a lot of the productivity software is heading in that direction.
Oh yeah. I cannot tell you how excited we are about this, and I think the direction in general that Microsoft is taking with the new CIO, with the reorgs that have been publicly announced, I think that we are all wowed by the amazing products that are coming out, and I can tell people who are viewing that there is surely more to come.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think also too, just this general sense of communication between teams. We've talked to several different Microsoft, not only employees, but to the business side, to the consumer side. We've seen just such a change in kind of culture almost, of this idea of being able to respond to the consumer feedback, whether it be the enterprise consumer or just the normal consumer, and be able to deliver in a quick, responsive manner. And that, I mean, that's great. And the fact that it just seems like you guys are on it. I mean, that's what it boils down to. So, so yeah, this is very exciting times, and it makes for a good conversation about things that we don't have to painfully use, but that we want to use. It's an enjoyable experience for us to be able to interact with, which I'm sure went into some of the design language, some of the design.
Yes. Yeah, yep, totally. And I think like that's one of the things in our team, Apex, and I'm the primary driver, like for customer connection. That is the number one thing that drives everything that we do. And so this podcast is one of those engagements. Like we had a Reddit AMA, we have a lot of blogs. We're going into in markets like China and Japan and trying to connect with the customers there. We met a lot of enterprises. So this is the engineering team actually reaching out to understand what are the pain points and how can we address, and if there are no pain points, like how do we envision the new scenarios and get people to do what they never imagined before.
Yeah, I'm sure that research, that data. I mean, if you like statistics and data, you would love to just see that stuff. I know I would. Just to see that response from the field, right? Like, this is the situation. How are we gonna knock this out? Just very awesome stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That was all the questions I have for my interview to Sangeeta tonight. I think I'm just in love with the apps. I'm the Mac guy here for STLTechTalk.com, and I just the day went out. I think I was one of the flooders who brought the network down because it was just everybody wanted it, and I had it on that day.
It's true.
Love that.
And I'm sure he had multiple iOS devices he was putting it on too. So he was trying to break the circuit.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. Not with the back-end cloud stuff. So let's look towards the future a little bit. What are you most looking forward to going forward? Would you say is this more of it's just being more efficient, being more responsive to the consumer, all of those, or would you say maybe just being able to have that scalability, right? To work on, to not say, hey, we're not just a Microsoft product, but we're able to put our apps and services on any device. And I think that is really awesome.
Yeah, I think so. You pretty much covered all of the things that we are looking at because we as Microsoft, we serve a lot of customer segments, right from students to enterprises to general end users, and all of them have different devices, different platforms that they work off, and so in terms of priority, I think the number one priority for us is really to understand the customer's ask and needs, and we have we've talked in depth, and so we know exactly what they need in terms of to really move from, like as we say, the consumption scenario, so not just to view and do some lightweight edits to actual creation. And so we want to kind of ride that or drive that wave of like enabling productivity and true productivity on tablets. And so any of those customer scenarios is something that we are looking at. Enterprises are a little bit different kind of in terms of that. So like, for example, they are very much interested in BI, in Power BI kind of, or just general BI as well. So that's that's, I would say, customer requests becomes our top priority. Meanwhile, we also are looking at certain innovations in the area, like with the new platform updates that we have with iOS, or the Yosemite that's coming up in terms of the Mac platform, is how do we leverage those capabilities and what we have learned and what we want to innovate in this new area of like touch and multi-tap and maybe a hardware keyboard attached to the device. How do we make the best of it? So Microsoft, Office productivity software, just has 1 billion users, but how do we get to the next 5 billion users? So that's our goal.
Right.
Yeah, if I can add two items to the wish list.
Yeah.
Cortana as a Siri replacement, and 2 Visio for Mac, please.
Okay, I will take this.
Yeah, I will take that under advisement. And also too, going forward as well is this sense that like you said, you're actually learning a lot from this. So I know you can't speak to this, but listening to this conversation makes me really think that the next version of Office for Windows in that touch environment is going to get a lot of really good data collected by Office for iPad or Office for iOS, because it's really touch centric, and you guys are able to gather all that data from that touch UI standpoint, and I would think that would help out just tremendously when approaching for Windows, because obviously it wouldn't make any sense to make it awesome for another platform. It would make sense to make the best for Windows, and Satya Nadella has said that as well. So so listening to this conversation really makes me
I think I totally agree. Like when we built Office for iPad, we had the desktop Office team. We used their data to make our decisions, and so now that we have a newer set of data for a newer set of experience, it's the same Office code base and the same Office core team, and so we definitely leverage each other's data and any newer signals, newer behaviors, touch environments that we share is something that is useful to all the Office teams working on different endpoints. But the key thing is we are now all very data driven, and that's a great thing for the customer, as well as how we prioritize things inside the company.
Absolutely. Yeah. Alejandro, is there any final thoughts on this wonderful, wonderful interview?
No, like I said, I have a laundry watch list, or rather a big, long wish list. Excuse me, I don't even know what I'm saying. Yeah, I do have to do laundry, but that's another story. No, I do have a long wish list. I just really hope that and I'm sure it will happen. I see with all of the changes going on with Microsoft, I see the convergence of platforms and the offerings, how you just transparently move from one device on one platform to another, and you can take your data with you. And so I'm really looking forward to see what else you guys come up with, what things cross, from the Windows to the Mac, from Mac to VU or Apex to the Windows team, those experiences that you guys acquired, how those can be shared to build better solutions and better experiences at the end of the day.
Totally.
And also, Sangeeta, thank you so much again for being on. We can't thank you enough. Also, to our who's viewing the show or going to listen to this on playback, please go to STLTechChic.com and you can read the interview Aubrey had with Sangeeta once that is up and ready to go. But what that site is dedicated for is for women in technology, and obviously you're a woman. And being in technology, it's obviously still a male-dominated field. So we're trying to bring up and trying to make sure that that you guys are more a part of the process, if you will, and bring and drive more enthusiasm there, because I think that everybody will agree that we need more individuals like yourself in positions like how you are. Because you're wonderful to speak to, and you have I will never be able to get to your level of awesomeness.
Thank you for kind words, but I'm thinking, thanks.
No problem. So everybody go check that out when that gets up and done and ready to go. And Sangeeta, you are more than welcome to stay on, but if you need to get home to the terrible twos, I completely understand that as well.
Okay, thank you so much, and if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to contact me. And since you guys are really using our products and services, any feedback, please let me know. Thank you.
Uh-oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Open line of communication.
Yeah, I
Whoa.
know.
Alejandro too. Oh boy,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
over. Yeah, me and
Okay.
him.
Bye-bye. Good
Anyways,
night.
but yeah, good night. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Kevin Harvell, who's going to be
That's
coming
me.
up with us in just a moment. Oh, what a wonderful interview, I must say.
Yes, definitely. That was awesome to listen to.
And hello, Brian Friedlander in the chat room. He wanted to pop in and say hello. Also, Vernon Smith, thanks for hopping in there and tweeting back and forth with Kevin. It's going to be a lot of fun to hear about that stuff. So, Kevin, now that the interview segment of the show is over, why don't you go ahead and start us off with the first news story of the week?
Wow. News time.
I know, it's almost like, how do we? It's like the monkey that followed up after the Beatles.
Yeah, how do I follow that? How do I follow that?
How do you follow that act? Right?
It's like impossible.
Right.
So first up, I want to talk about Sprint. Sprint has finally launched the Spark 4G LTE data service here in St. Louis. It's finally live. They've been selling devices that are Spark enabled for a while now. And the LTE service is now live in St. Louis, and it is designed for a 6 to 15 megabits per second on average download, and peak download speeds of 50 to 60 megabits per second. So not only that, but Sprint also announced another service, kind of like what T-Mobile did with their free iPhone for 7 days to try out the T-Mobile service. And with this deal, you still have to pay everything up front, but you get to try the Sprint network for 30 days. And if after 30 days you don't like it, you don't want to make a switch, you get everything that you paid up fully refunded. Probably no questions asked, but they'll probably ask you a couple questions. Why didn't you want to stay with us? So I think that's something I might try, just because I know we, for some strange reason, have a tough time getting in touch with Sprint reps in St. Louis and around in the Midwest here. So to try out their service and see just how the Sprint Spark service is. So I know we know a few people that use Sprint. Evan Thomas, how you doing?
I know.
So
Hello, Evan.
yeah, so I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on Sprint and coming out with these two, new service and new program?
Let me take it from here, JJ, and then I'll let you talk. But I have to say, there was a time where I was shopping for the network, and so I actually tried Sprint, and I really like their network. So I think that the reasons why I ended up somewhere else are more familiar or rather family based than anything else. But I think the network they had was awesome. I think this is great news for those who have been loyal fans of Sprint. The 30-day trial, I think T-Mobile started changing the rules of the game, and so for those who have had doubts of leaving their device to go somewhere else, this is a really good way to try out something, and if it works out, then they can figure out how to less I guess to get out of their current situation without the big scare of, oh my god, what if I don't like it? What if the speed is not okay? Or what if the coverage in the spot where I live in the city is not near to an antenna or whatnot? So I think, honestly, if I was shopping out in the market, I think Sprint is one of the options. They have really exciting devices all the time. So, JJ?
That's it. He's like, he just stops talking. I was like, whoa, that was weird. So the first thing that I'll say is this: does it feel like to you guys that Sprint is trying to run just an efficient program here, where they're not doing a lot of ads, and the ads that they are doing, you can tell they didn't hire the best person for them. And you know what? If you're in ads and if you're the guy who did that and you're listening to this show, I'm sorry. But if you're not that guy, the terrible commercials, the one-off words. I mean, it started back when, if you guys can remember, when the CEO of Sprint was in a black and white commercial, and he couldn't be any more CEO than he was, saying, this is like the Men's Warehouse guy, like, this is, you're going to like the way you look. You know, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I saw it start then, and it's still going on now, where Sprint, they didn't hop onto the GSM bandwagon. They didn't hop onto a whole bunch of other stuff bandwagon. They thought that this whole walkie-talkie thing was going to work out, and it didn't. So there was, and they were cheap, and they had a nice foothold, and they still kind of sort of do with governments and local municipalities. But I believe that merger, you know, of a Sprint T-Mobile, is what would need to happen for them to survive as a known brand, because you got so many people funneling into the track phones, to the you know, IOs and all sorts of other things. So this is one of those things where it's like, nah, you can see the cliff coming. There's nothing you can do about it.
I guess coming from corporate America, let me jump in and tell you, I see where Sprint came from. You know, the walkie-talkie, that heavily corporate role, and I think that's reflected in their commercials. Maybe to me, it's more of an accepted way of approaching people, but it's interesting how you perceive that, because that's very different from how I perceive it. But you have a great point. I think that now I feel like, with the T-Mobile merger, it's like the 60-year-old is marrying the 20-year-old or something like that.
Right.
So we hope we can get that.
The older guy is marrying that girl on the bike, you know?
Right. I mean, we'll probably see the guy running and doing the bungee jump here and there, but we'll see how much they can really keep up with that joviality, that I don't know, almost fountain of eternal youth that T-Mobile seems to get out of who knows where. They have all these crazy cool ideas. It's just amazing. I mean, kudos to T-Mobile for that. It's just amazing, the stuff that they're doing.
That's true. That's true. Well, guys, I'm up next with Fire Phone.
Yeah.
Now, I tried saying Fire Phone a whole bunch of times fast to try to make it sound not dumb. It sounds dumb. I don't like Fire Phone. It sounds stupid. I wish they would have kind of figured out a different name, but I understand that they had to call it Fire because they called everything Fire. And I understand, you know, with naming conventions, you know, everybody's got everything trademark. I mean, SkyDrive had to change to OneDrive because there was a business called Sky B2B. Come on. So the biggest thing was watching the Fire event. I was actually able to catch it in between doing some editing and some other stuff on some video. I hit Kevin. I said, "Hey, do you want me to write a post about the Fire Phone?" He goes, "Nope." I was like, "Okay, fine." But he did, and that's actually the reference that I'm using to talk about this phone tonight. Amazon came out with their Amazon Fire Phone. You probably heard about it a lot, but I'm just going to kind of go over just a quick rundown of Amazon Cloud Drive Storage. Gives you free unlimited cloud storage for all photos taken with the Fire Phone, regardless of the resolution, so that's really interesting. Free year of Amazon Prime. Amazon Mayday button, so you get the girl, the redheaded girl that pops on your screen. That's not creepy at all, by the way. Yes, it is. Firefly technology.
She's hot, you have to admit it.
Yeah. Nah, she's all right. If you're listening to the show, I'm sorry. So dynamic perspective, that's really what we're talking about here, because when it boils down to as far as phone spec-wise goes, it doesn't have a 1080p screen, so having a 1080p screen changes your life. And going back from a 1080p screen, so let's look at this phone a little bit. It's just announced. It's in only North America, only the United States. It's specific crowd because it's, you know, AT&T. So I don't think that this phone has a chance because the differentiation is not enough with a dynamic perspective that another app or another service or another this or that couldn't figure out a way to replicate somehow, some way. Sure. You're going to need all four of those cameras using the blasting the IRs at your face, which is also weird, by the way. And seeing where your face is in relationship to it, I think that that's not enough, given the current price point and given the current state of technology. People are starting to become complacent as they did back in the day with PCs. I like things the way they are. I don't like to change them. Now, Android and Apple makes changes, but they're not crazy differentiation. If you move your phone a certain way, the page scrolls. Or if you look at your phone a certain way, you're like, I bet you can't see me. I bet you can't see me. You know. So it's going to be fun for like a day and a half, and then that's going to be over with. So Alejandro, I'll throw this to you. What do you think about the Amazon Fire Phone?
I think that the mice of Amazon is that they're trying to create yet another environment. I think we have enough environments already, and
I do too.
They could have stayed with Android, and they would have probably done a lot better, because the Kindle Fire HDX is by far my favorite tablet the smaller one is the 8-inch, I guess, is the size. That thing is just amazing. That device is just beautiful. But I bought one, I returned it just because I couldn't do all of the things I wanted to do. There was no Google Play unless you hack your device, which, voids the warranty, blah, blah, blah. And so the same thing is for the Fire Phone. So now they're going out with this, and yes, they still have their separate marketplace for selling you apps.
But if you're a developer, like you are, if you already have to write for iOS and Android and Windows, which I, again, am a huge Windows fan, and everybody knows that I'm a Windows Phone guy and a Windows guy. Why? I mean, I don't see the value proposition behind supporting an Amazon ecosystem. I don't see the value there.
Also, if you think about it, Amazon always has apps on sale for free. It's kind of the only reason when you have an Amazon device why you install their store app, or rather, excuse me, the other way, when you have an Android device, that's the only reason you install the Amazon store in kind of a
for that
clandestine mode, because you get a free app every day, and sometimes those apps are $10, and so you just wonder, well, how does that really work for the developer? I'm sure there's something there that they might get something out of it. Maybe it's just promotion and publicity, but
there's only so far that goes, though. Promotion.
Oh, yeah.
Being an awesome guy doesn't pay very much money.
Exactly. There's only so much you can actually stretch that.
General consensus among developers is they don't really like when Amazon does that. So there's been a lot of discussion about that from certain developers, kind of like Pocket Casts, for example, the podcast app on Android that's real popular that I really enjoy. They pretty much pulled their support for continuing updating their app on the Amazon App Store just because of whenever they gave it away, it just kind of hurts the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, we have to realize as consumers and just as consumers in general, whether you're a CEO or you're just average Joe, that people make this stuff. Sometimes they do it because they want to and whatever. But for the majority of developers, they're doing it to put food on their table. And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for a couple of bucks or $4. I mean, people were squawking about $199 for Office back in the day. It's down, I mean, but there's still a cost there because there's a value proposition, and we need to understand that as consumers. And I think with this phone, another key issue with it is that no one is going to treat you nice in their store when you're taking pictures of stuff in their store and finding out how much you can get it for less with Amazon. You
already do that anyway with they put a scanner on their app.
I know, but you know what I mean, though. I mean, this kind of creates that extra layer of friction. But I don't want to dwell on this story. Alejandro, you're up.
Well, as if we didn't have enough of Microsoft, because we never can have enough Microsoft stores.
I know.
And so here's a very interesting twist on an offer that the Microsoft Store has right now. As you know, the Surface Pro 3 just came out on June the 20th. The i5 models are up on sale, and everybody's pretty excited about seeing those. I love that fire red keyboard, but I'm digressing. So the Microsoft Store is offering people who have MacBook Airs the ability to trade in their MacBook Airs, select models, and in-store only, for up to $650 towards a Surface Pro 3. So you get a Microsoft Store gift card that you can apply immediately to your Surface Pro 3. And so there's been all this interesting discussion in the Apple forums of, well, are they thinking that people are just going to throw their MacBook Airs and flock for the Surface Pro 3? There's obviously two bands or two groups of people. There is the fanboys who have been Mac loyal fans forever. Will they throw their MacBook Airs to go for one of this? Probably not. I bet they'll probably go buy one, probably not exchange their Mac. But those who maybe have an older MacBook Air laying around and that are loyals of technology, I don't see why not. I mean, it's a decent offer, but the big premise of the Surface Pro marketing campaign is that it is really a tough and dead-on competitor of the MacBook Air. They're saying this is what defeats the MacBook Air in the same category of products. So what do you guys think? Who do you think this campaign will attract? And
I'm going to go first. So I think it's going to attract the people who are on the fence and who have that device to go in. So I think it's for people on the fence. I don't think that it's one of those things where it's going to incentivize anyone for anything. Kevin?
Yeah, I personally, $650, I think it's just going to be for the people that don't want to deal with taking the time and the effort to sell it separately.
Right.
I mean, it's not an absolutely terrible price, but you can always squeeze a little bit more out if you spend, are willing to put in a little bit more time and effort to get a little bit of, whether it's $50 or $100. I mean, every little bit helps when you're buying a, $1,000+ machine. And I mean, God, we were there for Friday for the Surface Pro 3 launch. It was just amazing seeing the joy on everybody's face, that was getting one as the employees were bringing it out and sitting them down to help them get it all set up and installing their updates and making sure they're familiar with it. It was really neat to see. I mean, you had some Microsoft employees that don't work inside the store, but then you also saw moms, dads, and their kids coming in and getting these, and it was just great to see that nice age range Friday.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was gorgeous. We talked to several different people there, and in fact, I'm going to look for their business card, but we talked with a really nice couple, or I did anyway, about burn victims, or like people who have severe burns and who were disfigured because of it. They actually have a youth camp for people like that, and I will find their information and make sure I tell everybody about it, so maybe they can go donate $1 or $2 for that. But talking with a test case, she goes, it's okay to talk about this to your followers and your readers and all that. She said, I am 68 or whatever, and she said that she was able to use that Surface Pro 3 like it was no problem, and she's not technically savvy and all that kind of jazz. So this whole, okay, my grandmother used it, can my mother use it, blah, blah, blah. I was talking to one, and she could use it. So
the other part of the story, I think that the marketing campaign has fueled the wars, of is the Surface Pro 3 really a contender for the MacBook Air? Right now, I think the MacBook Air, as it exists, it's probably, in my humble opinion, feeling a bit out of date. I think there's no Retina display.
Yeah, no Retina.
There are rumors, I'm going to spoil my next news, but there's rumors of Apple preparing a MacBook Air 12-inch with Retina, and to me that's just a response because the Surface Pro 3 is really hitting hard. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, at the Microsoft store that we were at, they sold over 127 units that day. And that doesn't count all the pre-orders and all the business and all the other kind of stuff. So they're moving those things, and Apple did not release Thanks for combining those stories, Alejandro, for time. But Apple did not release an updated version of the Air. They just didn't, and it's so weird to me. And they're offering it at weird price points too. So, just very strange. Kevin, final thoughts, and then your next story.
And that sale number that you just gave, the 127, that was before noon.
That was before noon.
Cow.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because we
left
there.
Alejandro. Yeah.
We left there about 12:30 or 1 o'clock, and that's what the number was at that time before we left. So. And
not to diminish, but I mean that wasn't even the awesome version of the Surface Pro 3. That was just kind of your mid-level Surface Pro.
Yeah, that was the i5 because the i7 got pushed back and.
Yeah.
So.
Kevin.
All right. So next up, and I know JJ, this kind of goes along with yours, so we're just really combining stories here. Microsoft just went crazy the other day by upping the game when it comes to cloud storage. Google did this a couple months ago with Google Drive by upping their storage, but Microsoft and OneDrive have really changed things by increasing OneDrive storage plans. Free users, instead of getting 7 gigabytes, now you will get 15 just for signing up. So 15 gigabytes of free online storage. Now, if you're an Office 365 subscriber, whether this is personal or if you have a home where you get multiple users, you get 1 terabyte of online storage for no additional charge. 1 terabyte. That's for free, on top of just additional. Now, what Google charges, I can't remember the exact amount, but with Google you don't get full version of Office. You don't get the full version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and all that. Yeah, you get access to Google Drive, Google Docs, but they're not as fully functional, fully featured as the Office programs are. So
mine's better than yours is no.
So know that, and then they're also dropping their overall storage prices by over 70%. The new monthly price for an additional 100 gigabytes of storage, $1.99.
That's
amazing.
Yeah.
And to get 2 gigabytes of storage, it just goes up to $3.99. So I mean, of course, there's more prices, more numbers, but that's just excellent. That's
where it's
unbelievable.
It's where it's at. So I'm up next because I run this show. I'm gonna basically talk. I'm gonna go on a little rant here real fast. I'm gonna talk about drones, Dr. Oz, and Russia. So Russia said no to Intel chips and AMD chips in their systems and stuff. If you guys want to check this out, and Gadget did a really good post, or really quick post, but it was done actually better on some other places. Drones are everywhere. They're going to be everywhere. I don't know why people are fighting them so much. And we were talking to an individual the other day about at the Microsoft store, actually, when we were there, about how you can actually buy a drone that just follows you around, and it has a proximity to your phone, and it acts like your personal, movie. It's like hovering up behind you. So think Google Glass, only way more creepier, like Skynet version.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Alejandro, if I walked up to you and a drone was following me, wouldn't you say, dude, there's a drone following you? And, I would have to say, yeah, I know, it's mine. And you'd be like, it's not like a dog, it's not like, and
you'll make my R2-D2 droid look obsolete.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. Let me just go get R2. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
But no, kind of weird. Yeah. So kind of weird. Whatever. And then I just wanted to talk about this real fast because it is kind of technologically related. It drives me nuts about pseudoscience. Science is huge. STEM is huge. We talked about that with Scott Hanselman on our last Codecast show, and and Dr. Oz got grilled because of his harmless, flowery language. I was sitting in the hospital several different times and watching his show, not because I wanted to, but because it was on, kind of like CNN. But so it's I'm watching this thing, and this guy's talking about all these wonderful cures and all this other kind of jazz. Well, Congress kind of beat him up a little bit for it, and they rightfully so. So we need to think about these devices and how they integrate with our lives, because we're going to see more claims from more companies with these wearable devices in the future. And don't get sucked into that stuff. Talk to Alejandro, talk to me, talk to Kevin, talk to people who do this for fun and for a living, who look into this kind of stuff. Don't just buy the first thing you see. So that's my rant. Guys, what are your thoughts?
I mean, as for drones, I mean, I heard somebody talking about having this app and this drone, and this, the drone connects to your phone and it like follows you around and like just hovers over your shoulder.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
like that's. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's the wildest idea, and I mean, Amazon's talking about doing the drone delivery, stuff like that. So I don't know. I like you said, people just. I just think drones are coming regardless, and unfortunately, unless something, you start a big old like revolution against these things, put up a big fuss, they're gonna be here. If you don't want them, then you're gonna have to, get involved with your government and your officials, tell them you don't want them, and get a big enough group. Otherwise, they're on their way.
Well, there's already regulations being planned to forbid drones flying over public parks and national parks. So there's some concerns, and people are taking measurements. I think the biggest concern is privacy, because usually drones have cameras. I have a drone. My wife gave me one 2 years ago, and it has two cameras. It has one camera that points front, one that points down, and you can fly it, and you can take amazing HD video. This is really old. I think we got it at Brookstone, and you charge it for 4 hours, and the battery lasts 10 minutes or 15 minutes actually. It's really disappointing. But when we first got it, I thought it was amazing. And now that I see it more in commercial applications, I think as a developer, it's exciting because it can revolutionize many industries. If you think about the film industry, it really takes costs down and allows you to do a lot of really creative things.
Yeah, dynamic.
For what Amazon is trying to do, I think that's just mind blowing. How can they do it so that it doesn't damage merchandise, etc., etc.? That's really
neat.
Out of my league to comprehend, but I just think it's really interesting. It's funny how you think about these things and you look back 10 years ago, 5 years ago, this technological advancements, we used to think, oh yeah, all those futuristic movies we used to watch, never gonna happen. And all of a sudden, you get in your car and boom, boom, comes all of the UI in your car, and you push a button and that is layovers and stuff, and hey, wait a second, it is happening, and it's happening right now, and it's all of a sudden you see drones flying and people with Google glasses, and
just people talking to other people on their phone or on their watch.
Yeah, exactly. So I embrace technology. I love technology. Like you said, if you are trying out new technology, there is always going to be challenges. I think the one of those Fit bracelets had some issues. They were overheating and causing harm to people. So there is always going to be something that is going to blow up.
They said rashes, but it's cancer.
Yeah, exactly. It's a nice word for not calling it that. But yeah, so I don't think there's anything to be scared of. I think that any technology can be used or misused, and there's always going to be regulations to keep things safe and responsible.
Get multiple opinions before you make a judgment, and like I said, and that's what I was trying to get to, especially with drones and other things like that. I mean, they can be used for a lot of fun too. I saw one that was made for paintball, and how cool would that be to snipe out some people during paintball?
That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty hot. And then I also saw the actual farming industries using them to check crops and and not having to use biofuels to oil essentially to go check on stuff, and have drones go out there check the crops and all that kind of jazz, and that's just hot. I mean, that is cool stuff right there. I think at South by Southwest I saw a drone tase a guy. That was kind of cool. Not gonna lie. So Alejandro, you're up with your next story.
Okay, is that my last story? I can just pick one. So
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I think I want to mention that Apple TV just released new channels for those of you like yours truly that have an Apple TV at home, or 2 or 3. The latest channel lineup that they release is ABC News, and this is huge because this is free. You don't have to have a paid subscription. You can actually watch ABC News. It also comes with home historical video documentaries and so forth. So really exciting for those of you who like ABC News. One of my favorites is PBS Kids. There is already a PBS channel, but it's just a regular PBS programming. This is now PBS Kids, which is a wonderful educational channel. If you have very young kids, this is completely safe to watch at home. There is no nasty commercials. It's just really, really good stuff for families. Other 2 channels that I don't really know much about is AOL On. I guess AOL back in 2012 launched some type of video service to push their video ads. So now they have a channel called AOL On. And also Willow TV. I have no idea of what Willow TV might be, but I'm sure some of you will be like, yes, Willow TV on Apple TV. Awesome. Good for you. And also for my fellow photographers, they redesigned their Flickr app. I haven't had a chance to try it out, but I'm itching to go and apply the Apple TV update to see what that looks like. And that's available now.
Yeah, first of all, awesome. I don't have an Apple TV. It's not necessarily because I don't want one, but I could see myself possibly having some use for one in the future, because I do see them building out that ecosystem a little bit more, and I do see them tacking on some of these new services that you can get. We recently talked about on the show about how we were going to possibly do the whole Charter thing, but it turns out you can't do that awesome deal if you've had Charter within the last 30 days, and I have Charter. So I couldn't get all the stuff that I wanted to get, which is I thought was a little mean, but whatever.
Put it on your wife's name.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So that is really cool. Kevin, any thoughts on the Apple TV stuff?
I mean, Apple TV is pretty popular. I mean, they sell a ton of them. I don't think. I mean, Alejandro, do you have one?
I do. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So as far as I know, there's like 1 or 2 people that I might know that have one. I just don't know.
I think it's kind of like if you think of the Mac Mini, a lot of people were turning their Mac Minis into media centers.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
And so the Apple TV doesn't have storage, but if you already have 1, 2, or 3 Macs in your house, what you can do is stream to the Apple TV. It has AirPlay built in. So if you have your iPhone with you or your iPad and you want to watch, hey, look at this YouTube video, or I'm watching a Pluralsight video and I want to watch it on my big screen HD TV, boom, it's like push of a button. So it's a wonderful device. I personally have a family server. We store all of our movies there or music, and so with a few clicks you can access all your media center through that, and it's $100, and you can get a refurbished one on Apple.com for like $75 every now and then. So there's rumors of newer devices coming, but I think it's a really cheap way to stream all your media, to watch some good content. And they keep adding channels. They have a WWDC channel. If you're a developer, you can watch the WWDC sessions on your Apple TV for free. There's no cost of doing that.
Awesome.
So, I mean, for Apple fans, that sounds like the perfect complement to your devices.
Yep, and it's like this size. I mean, this thing is.
Yeah,
really
they are
small.
small from what I've seen.
Yep.
I mean, the packaging at the stores is like, wow, that thing's got to be little.
Oh yeah, it's
I
tiny.
can see the value proposition in that. Kevin, I am really excited to talk about your next story. Give it to us, brother.
All right. Last thing I want to cover tonight. Tomorrow is when Google kicks off their 2014 edition of the I/O conference. So all
Big
Google
deal.
Android developers are congregating in San Francisco right now as we speak, getting ready for the keynote tomorrow. And Samsung is expected to announce details of an Android Wear-powered Gear smartwatch. Now, you might remember, they just launched the Gear 2, the Gear 2 Neo, and Gear Fit, but those are running the Tizen mobile OS, so for Samsung devices. Now, of course, Samsung was originally announced as one of the partners when Android Wear was announced, months ago. So we knew they were, on board with the Android Wear platform, and it makes sense that they are, because Samsung has, they have to be able to access as many devices as possible if they want to compete, against, for example, the Apple iWatch that's rumored to be getting ready to fire up production. So
Alejandro's going to buy that day one, guaranteed.
Oh yeah, it's going to be.
You better believe it.
Yeah. So.
And I'm gonna be in line for the iPhone 6.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
So
It's gonna be fun.
yeah.
It's gonna be fun. I don't know. I spent all my money, guys. I know I don't have any Windows Phone stories, but this is my new 1520, and it's gorgeous. And I don't know how I ever lived without it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of funny that right now, all three of us right here on the show right now, we all have a different color 1520.
Well, we have STLTechTalk colors.
Right.
Absolutely.
Red, black, and white.
Yep.
What up?
Yeah.
We're a gang now.
Yeah.
All right,
So I'm really excited to watch that keynote tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it too. So here's what my predictions are. They're totally going to come out with it. Everybody that's ever bought anything Samsung is going to be like, what? Like, it frustrates me a little bit, because I understand why retailers sell these things. The Tizens, I mean. But it's so frustrating, because it's just like right around the corner is another device that's going to work with more other compatible devices, and it's just so frustrating to me, because I look at all these people who buy into an ecos, like, it's just, it's the $199 thing when they do comparative shopping, like on a tablet or this, that, and the other, and then the next thing you know, they've bought so many things that if they just would have bought what they actually needed in the first place, they would have saved themselves a lot of headache and time. This is one of those scenarios. I think that they're going to do a nice version of it, because they've had a lot of practice with their Neos and their Galaxy Gears and their Gears. But I think that I still think LG is going to do a really good job too. And unless you like being locked into a system of Samsung, you're just going to be like, I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of it. I'm tired of it. But most people are going to be, who are geeked out about this stuff, probably won't get the Samsung version. They'll either get the LG or the Moto 360 for fashion reasons. But I so am looking forward to Google I/O and what they have to talk about. It's just going to be a really exciting stuff.
Yeah, just think that real quick. I just want to get this one little point. Imagine how confusing it's going to be to people that don't follow tech like we do. Whenever they walk into a Best Buy, for example, and they go over to the little smartwatch section, and you see the Gear 1, the Gear 2, and then the Gear 2, and they're like, well, what are the differences between these two? They got the same name. It's like, okay, well, this one runs this operating system, and this one runs this one.
Right.
And it's just going to be mind-blowing. I mean, I don't know, Samsung.
I love what was it? The Best Buy commercial is still my favorite commercial. The one where I keep kicking my desk and my camera keeps freaking out. The one where the girl's in the crowd and she's messing around with her device, and he's like, and this is the brand new blank 2, and this girl's like, but I just bought this one.
Yeah.
That is like the funniest and captures it like totally. It's like, what the, it kind of like, what's going on? I just bought this thing. What is this thing now? I mean, why can't this stuff have longer shelf lives?
Yeah, they were trying out some type of offering. I don't know if they still do it, where you could buy a device at Best Buy and then have the ability to upgrade within a shorter amount of time as opposed to waiting your 2-year contract and stuff like that.
We should check into that. We should double check that with Vernon. He would be a good guy to ask about that.
Yeah, I know they were doing that a couple of years ago. I don't know if they still do it, but there was an option. It's similar to what you have now with AT&T and the what they call it, the Next, or what's that?
Yeah, I can't remember which one's next. Which one's jump?
AT&T is Next, and Edge is Verizon.
That's what I thought. So it's similar, but I think back then it was the first guys who tried it. It was a bit expensive. You have to pay a bit extra upfront, but it was the ability to basically just upgrade earlier. Hey, before I forget, a couple of things on Google I/O. One of the biggest announcements also coming out of Google I/O that people are expecting is, as you know, Google not too long ago acquired Nest. I
was going to talk about that, but we kind of ran out of time.
So they're supposed to make announcements as far as opening the SDK for developers. So that's something people are waiting to hear about a lot. And the other thing was that tonight, and just the night before this, Google just announced a souped-up Google Glass with 2 gigs of RAM and 15% more battery life.
Ooh. No, the battery life will make a lot of people happy.
So our next week's show, I'm going to just call it now and say we're just going to be talking about Google I/O.
Right.
And then Nokia X2 is out today. I think I just heard that on my way back from work. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
a lot going on.
I think there's something in my throat.
There's just all kinds of news, man. It's being in this industry, it definitely stick around because it's going to change. It's always,
and stick around with us
changing.
at STLTechTalk.com, where everybody should be visiting daily. I mean daily. Kevin, you took my Windows Phone app.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'll do a plug for Andy Long and
another one of his amazing apps.
I'll give you one.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
All right, so we'll go ahead and just do the app picks of the week, and the app pick of the week that I wanted to share is called Phonely, Phonly. So if you're a Feedly user, to be able to follow RSS feeds from your favorite websites, because it just takes forever to keep typing in your favorite websites. You can follow everything in just one little feed. This is available on the Windows Phone platform. It's available for free. Just simply log into your account, and there you have everything that you've got, in your little news feed. You can just browse it all right from your phone. And of course, on a 1520, doesn't get much easier than that.
It doesn't get much. That's true. This thing is a mini tablet. I love it. Oh, I love it. All right, so my phone pick is actually not mine. It's Alejandro's, but I'll give myself credit for it. Good job, JJ. Angry Birds Epic for Windows Phone is out. Yeah. Actually, I did see this, and I was going to tell people about it. This is really cool. This is an Epic version of Angry Birds, so go check that out for Windows Phone. Alejandro, you're up, sir.
Well, for those of you who are LinkedIn users, today LinkedIn just released their LinkedIn Jobs app for iOS. And the biggest features are the ability to get, as any other app in iOS, push notifications, but also the ability for you to search jobs anonymously. So, everything you do in LinkedIn is like, oh, he just changed his job title, and spam your entire network. Well, this will allow you to search for jobs, create and save job filters for searches that you do, save us on your phone, get alerts when new jobs come up. So check it out. I downloaded it today to do this review for you. It looks great. And if you have done any type of job search or any history on LinkedIn, your app is going to look at your profile and give you some content already the moment you launch it based on what you have done on LinkedIn already. So really, really good job from the LinkedIn guys.
All right.
Oh, cool. That is cool. Good. I also wanted to plug Andy Long. That's Andrew Long on the Windows Phone store. He has many apps, a lot of them which if you guys are in a podcast, obviously if you listen to this, you probably are, is definitely the Wall Street Journal podcast, I believe is the name of it. Let me just double check that real fast. You know, scrolling is so much easier on this 1520, guys. I mean, seriously.
Look at that picture.
It's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous.
Yep.
Yeah, so just go to and check him out. He's the developer. Go see more by him, or download our STL Tech Talk app that currently exists, which is going to change very soon. And do more by Andrew Long. It's
for the Windows phone. The app is on the Windows phone today.
Yeah, the app is currently on the Windows phone today, but that we're going to update that soon. Also, I wanted to thank again. I wanted to thank Alejandro, Gus, and I wanted to thank all of you guys for all your hard work. And I think we got a lot of things coming down the pipe, especially the announcements of the week. We spoke with Unidev last week. I did an article on Unidev. You can go to STLTechTalk.com today to read that article. Unidev is a company that's in the St. Louis area and that does a phenomenal job. Everything from web development to software development to e-commerce solutions, the whole bit. So go check them out. Go read that stuff. Very cool. Also, we talked with Ed and Aaron from Startup Voodoo. We're going to be the official press for that conference. We're also going to be on Techly, which is another really cool site and show that records every Wednesday, so it's really cool. Strange Loop Conference, we're going to be going to that. And, of course, St. Louis Days of .NET right around the corner, fellas. We're going to be all over that, like white on rice, fat kid on cupcakes, and any other euphemisms I can think of. So having said that, was there anything that you guys wanted to say before we conclude? What I would say is probably my top 5 favorite episodes, like, ever.
Yeah, it was an amazing show. You know, listen to Sangeeta and all the things that she was able to, share with us from her experience being a 15-year Microsoft employee, and helping make Office for iPad possible. I mean, that was really cool.
Yeah, really a lot of Microsoft people can be kind of cagey, but she was very. It was cool because it was her own niche that she was talking about, and she didn't spill state secrets, but she wasn't like a canned thing either. So it was a phenomenal interview. I can't thank her enough for being on.
And she didn't dodge any questions. She wasn't like, next question, please. I don't want to talk about that.
She kind of. Yeah, it was phenomenal. That girl, her resume, like I said, I could never forget about it. I could try now, start working now, and I'd die trying to accomplish what she's accomplished. But
we'll ask you in 15 years. How's that?
Yeah. Ask me in 15 years. Alejandro, what final thoughts or any announcements you'd like to?
I want to give a big thanks to my friend Jim Newark from Microsoft, who made the interview with Sangeeta possible. He's a good old friend of mine, and he's the one who connected us to make this interview possible. He's an awesome guy. I hope he's watching tonight. Jim, if you're watching, big thanks, my friend. I know you'll watch this episode eventually.
Yes, and thanks from me and Kevin. And Kevin said thank you too, and we just can't thank you guys enough. A lot of thank yous to go around. So that concludes another wonderful episode of the STL Tech Talk podcast. So to the entire fan base that we have now that is growing, we love and thank you for all your support from the entire STL Tech Talk crew. Stay frosty. We're out.